everybody, welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5, for any of those who've been sleeping under a rock for the last 6 years, is a game made by Rockstar. They are a really well-known publishing company. They've made lots of really great games in the past. But this game was made back in 2013, and when it was released to critical and financial acclaim, it made in its first 3 days, it made $1 billion, becoming the fastest selling entertainment product, a record it still holds today. The game, which was originally released on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, has been remade back in, I think it was 2015, for the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC. For this review, I'll be talking about my experiences with the PS4 version, and I'll also be taking in my considerations with my experiences I had on the Xbox 360 back in the day. First off, of course, is the story. The story in this game was phenomenal. I loved it from start to finish. If you played any Grand Theft Auto game, you usually kind of get the main idea. There's some gangster or mob character of some kind, and they start as kind of a nobody, and you have to kind of work your way up the chain of command and make yourself a well-known crime lord in the city. But this game goes over the top, and instead of having one protagonist, you now have 3 people you're following in the story. And this game does a phenomenal job of bouncing between the characters and making each character have a moment to shine and fleshing out their story and their character and the way they build throughout the story. This was really well done because also in missions and stuff and exploring out in the world, you can switch between these characters fluidly, and it was really, really well done. I was a little nervous at first about having 3 characters, but they handled this so well, and they did a great job of letting you be able to switch between them. And like I said, being able to flesh out the characters, nobody really felt left behind. Each character had their own arc and their own story, which of course interweaved with all the other ones. But as an overall narrative, it was really, really well done. I enjoyed it the whole way through. The writing in this game was really spectacular. There were so many jokes and commentaries on social aspects from back in the time that are still relevant today, almost 6 years later. And the jokes are still funny. I mean, I played this storyline through 4 or 5 times since it came out, and there's still jokes that I laugh at every time because it's so well done and the writing is just incredible. And the interactions between the different characters and also other side characters that show up in parts of the story, it's all really, really well done. The way the story is set up is you have your large open world of Los Santos, and there's different characters and people who will offer you jobs or activities to go take care of, and so you have specific characters who also have specific jobs, and I thought that was really awesome. And you go to your job location, there's a cutscene or some sort of situation that unfolds, and you have to complete certain objectives or tasks to complete the mission and then go on and continue the story. And one thing I really like about this is it isn't just mission after mission. It's a really fluid story because you have breaks in between. You can go and explore the world, do collectibles or cause mayhem or whatever you want, but you can pick up the story whenever you want. I mean, I know some people who've had this game forever and they still have never even beaten the story because they just like to mess around and have fun. But they could easily just jump right back into the story and pick up where they left off. Like I said, the interactions and the dialogue between characters are so well done. While you're driving in a car with somebody to go on a mission, they have some conversation of some kind. There's a lot of times that when I'd get to my mission objective, they'd still be talking. I'd actually stop and wait for them to finish talking because what they were talking about was so interesting and fun to listen to. And it really built their characters and added more depth to the game. If you bought Grand Theft Auto 5 because you heard the online was fun and you jumped in and of course enjoyed the online mode, which I've never played but I've heard lots of really great things about, if you haven't bothered with the story, I'd highly recommend checking it out. It's going to be worth your time. It's a great time all the way through and you're going to love it. One thing this game does that's a little bit unique is it has 3 distinct endings. It lets you choose at a certain point in the game. You can choose 3 different pathways. And while one of them is technically the canon ending, the other 2 are well enjoyable, don't really leave you as satisfied or tie up all the loose ends like that third canon ending does. So if you want to check out the other endings, you're more than welcome to. I just feel like you'd be more satisfied and have a fulfilled story if you went with that third option. Gameplay-wise, if you've ever played any Grand Theft Auto before, you're going to know exactly how this works. You have your character, you're out in the open world, and you can go and cause as much mayhem as possible. You can go and murder innocent civilians, steal cars, and fly around, do whatever you want to do. But then also you have the story missions, like I was saying. Each character has specific story missions given to them by someone, and you go out and you complete these missions. And the way the missions work is you have a specific set of objectives or tasks, and it's kind of set up it's really linear, but it works and it's fun, and I enjoyed it. Not a lot of people like the linearity of it, but I found it worked. It was really nice and it made things pretty direct and wasn't trying to confuse you at all. But each mission in this game was all unique and different. I was so excited every time I got a mission because I knew something new and unique was going to happen. Everything from boosting cars in the very first mission to flying a crop duster into the back of a cargo plane in the middle of the game to end up robbing a gold reserve at the very end of the game. It was all unique and completely different. I loved it. It was so much fun. Every single time I started a mission, you could never guess what it was going to be about. If you played Grand Theft Auto 4, you remember that the driving in that game was kind of stiff and really tight. It was okay, it worked, but this time it's a lot more loose and way more fun. It's really, really fast too. I mean, if you're going down the highway in that game at 100 miles an hour, you're gonna feel like you're going 100 miles an hour. Cars are just gonna be whizzing past you left and right, and it's fun to try to weave in and out of traffic. It's exciting, it's thrilling. The shooting in this game is the best it's ever been in a Grand Theft Auto. You will always have your lock-on target where you can just pop out of cover and it automatically locks to a target. Or you can have your free aim where you can aim wherever you want. It doesn't really lock on at all. It's whatever you choose. I personally like the lock on. It makes me feel a little bit more precise with my shooting and it's a lot more fun and not as challenging. But if you don't like that, then you're more than welcome to do whatever you please. Whatever option you do choose, it's going to be a great time every time a swarm of enemies comes in or you end up deciding to mow down a crowd of people. This game is also a fantastic flying simulator. It's actually probably one of the better flying games. The flying in this, it's really, like I said, it's really smooth and fluid. Everything runs so well. All the different planes and helicopters, they all kind of handle a little differently, and you have to kind of get used to them. And you can also jump into the flight school and learn how to do fun loop-de-loops and barrel rolls and all these other crazy fun adventures like knife flighting. And it's all great, and it's so much fun, and I recommend checking out all of it. You're going to have a great time no matter what you end up deciding to do. One thing that's new to Grand Theft Auto 5 that hasn't been in any other Grand Theft Auto series before is they now have the heist setups. So in previous Grand Theft Autos, you had bank missions like the Lucky Clover in Grand Theft Auto 4 was an amazing bank heist mission. This game has similar things, except for this time you now have to plan and set out and choose crew members and also set up for these heists by going out and collecting needed materials or vehicles. And it was so much fun planning these heists. You had to like go to the locations and stake them out, take photos and stuff like that, and then go back and pick an option of which pathway you want to go. And it was so much fun trying to piece together. It was really exciting and built up the tension for these missions. Well, all of them were definitely very highlights of the game. The very, very last heist was a little anticlimactic. Depending on which pathway you choose, it can be a little bit more exciting. But for me personally, I found either way you went, it was kind of a little bit of a letdown compared to the other ones I had more fun with. For example, the Polito Bay one, and if you played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But overall, really, really fun experience, and I love this new mechanic, and I hope they use it in future Grand Theft Auto games because it worked so well here, and I hope they add or improve things that I can't even think of that would make the experience even better. There's one thing I do have to say about this game though, it is a very mature game. The violence in this game is very brutal and gritty. You shoot someone in the head and you kind of almost feel it. It's like, ugh. And there's a whole entire mission based around torturing someone, which, well, it was kind of sadistically fun. It was pretty brutal and gnarly. I mean, you're up there right in the action and you're doing a little mini game to pull out the guy's tooth or smash him in the knees with a hammer, and it's all really brutal. But it does make a good point by the end of the mission about, government torture and stuff like that. And it was really, I thought they did a good job with that. There's also nudity, drugs, violence, you can pay for sex, and it just goes on and on and on. And the game is it's super mature, it's brutal, it's graphic, and if you're very, very touchy about that stuff, this might not be for you. But the biggest thing is it's kind of how you choose to play. If you choose to play that way, if you choose to go out and drink and do drugs and pay for sex and all that stuff, that's how you want to play it. But you can totally choose to totally avoid it. I did most of the time because, most of the other stuff, you don't need to do it. And it just didn't seem appealing. But yes, it's totally up to you how you want to play it. It can be as violent or as not violent as you wish. I mean, the story has set up violent moments, which go their ways. But for the most part, the outside of the story, the violence, it's totally up to you. But just be warned, this is not a game for younger players at all. Now, the world of Grand Theft Auto takes place in Los Santos. It's an almost perfect recreation of the city of Los Angeles. Now, whenever I see pictures of Los Angeles or see Los Angeles in real life, I no longer think of it as Los Angeles. It's now Los Santos. Back on the Xbox 360, this game already looked phenomenal for the console generation. It was beyond its time, but now we have it in the newer generation, and they even improved it, and it looks phenomenal. I mean, the draw distance you can see forever, and just the detail all over the place are incredible, from the crummy underpasses to the lonely mountains up in the north. It's all there for you to enjoy, and it's so well detailed and so taken care of. You can obviously see the delicacy and the time that these people put into making the world. And for those who were playing on the newer generations, which I don't know why you'd play on any of the older ones because you have the new and better options, is now you have a first-person adventure. Back in the older Grand Theft Autos, that wasn't an option. This is new for Grand Theft Auto 5 for the next-gen consoles. It's a first-person experience. And if you've never played through the story mode on a first-person camera, I'd highly recommend it. It's going to totally change the experience. And that gives you two full playthroughs through a fantastic game. And each experience is totally different. In the city itself, it feels alive with pedestrians and cars, and they're all interactive, and you can choose if you want to kill everyone or if you want to just leave them be. But it's fantastic. It just feels so alive, and everything's just hustling and bustling like a real city really would. And beyond the city, there's even an entire ocean experience to have. At a certain point, you can buy a submarine and you can just explore the depths of the ocean. There's like sea life all over, and there's coral reefs to explore, and it's just incredible the detail that they put into this game. And it makes me so glad that there's developers out there that still put this much effort and time into their games. There's a whole freaking internet for you to explore in Grand Theft Auto 5. You can jump on there and look for different sites. I think I found one site that was like a driver's ed site, and you can take like a driving test to see if you're a sufficient driver or something like that. And it was all just fun and exciting. And there's even an entire stock market that lives and breathes depending on how you interact with the world. You can find guides online to kind of help you kind of trick the stock market for your favor. And by the end of the game, I had like $1 billion with each character from the stock market. It's awesome. No other game has that. In this world, it has so many side activities and places to explore. I mean, I probably put more time into Grand Theft Auto 5 than I have in any other game ever. And just because there's so much to see and so much to explore, and these side activities will keep you busy for a long time, from playing around in golf to driving a motorbike off the side of a mountain and first-person camera. It's intense. It's fun, and there's just so much stuff in between side quests that'll keep you entertained and introduce you to some fun, quirky new characters. And even after all this time, I find myself returning to these side activities to try to beat my score, or just have another great time, and just gives me something other to do than running people over. Still to this day, this game stands out as one of the best open world games of all time. There's collectibles and side quests all over the place. I mean, these collectibles are insanely hard. And I ended up finding myself sitting there with my iPad trying to kind of follow along with the walkthrough, because most of those I would never have found in a million years. By the time my counter hit 100% completion, I felt so satisfied. It was so fun going out and exploring and completing all these side activities and the main story and everything. It's all just such a great time. And I think the best thing about this game is there's so many little things that all come together to make this game one of the best of all time. Throughout my gameplay experience, which was a very long time, I only had one crash, and it was just a minor inconvenience compared to all the other time that I spent playing. There was, with all this stuff going on, with how much movement and stuff's going on in the city, there was really no frame rate or drops or anything, unless there was a lot of things exploding all at once, but it makes sense. And then the main loading screen that comes on when you first start the game, that one takes a while, but it makes sense. There's a lot of stuff loading, and it only happens when you first start up the game, so it's really a minor inconvenience that's easily looked over. But in the end, I've said so much about this game because there's so much to love and very little to dislike. I mean, if I were to think of something, I would have to really think about this. But when I really think about this game all in all, it easily goes up in my top 5 games of all time. With its fun and quirky writing that's still relevant 6 years later, its amazing story that kept me intrigued the whole time, the mission variety that kept me guessing every time somebody started a mission, and the graphical detail that went into this insanely amazing world, and just the overall fun I had. This experience overall was such a great time, and I'd highly recommend it to anyone who's at least a little bit curious, or if you for some reason have never even played this game. While it is a mature experience, it has lots of really gnarly details, and the language is a little over the top for those who are curious about that. It's a fun experience. If you just put all that aside and just enjoy it for what it is, you're going to have a great time. It's so much fun, and you're not going to want to leave the game once it's over. Even for a casual gamer who's not really hardcore into playing lots of games, this is a great start for you. It does a great job of kind of holding your hand and walking you through things so that it's not a very hard game. And you're going to have a great time with it. I would highly recommend this game to everyone because it's such a fantastic experience. So that's my review for Grand Theft Auto 5. Once again, thank you everybody for all your support and continued encouragement. This has been a really fun time, and I'm loving doing this. So please don't forget to hit the subscribe, the like, the bell so you can get notified every time I post a new video, and all my other great stuff. You can find me on Twitter now and Instagram, of course, to stay updated every time I post something new. And also, if you haven't noticed, I've been doing some Let's Play videos with Fallout New Vegas. I'm having a great time with that, so stay updated with that. I'll put the latest video up here, and I'll put some other video up here for you to check out, but other great stuff. Thank you again for everybody, and thanks for watching the Game for Your Thoughts, and we'll catch you next time.